the air and the water around. They're putting walkways in over the tanks, all that. The first blower, there were 2 blowers, and they're both being replaced, and there's going to be a 3rd blower eventually as a backup. The first blower was, the first one was taken out, and the new one was put in. That one's running now. Those units are bigger because they're in an enclosed cabinet. It's much quieter. Tammy and Jen really like the fact that the blower is much quieter when you go into that space. The second blower, the old one's been taken out. The new one is in place, and they're working on all the plumbing and electrical for that right now. Our best guess right now is that when the plant, the new half of the plant will be able to come online is probably about a month away, maybe early to mid-August is our best guess right now. Other stuff that has to happen where all the stuff coming from downtown right now, where it comes in there, it comes into a headworks building, it goes through a screen, and then it goes into the current part of the plant. Next week, they're going to take the plant offline, hopefully for about 45 minutes. They'll do it at 4 in the morning. Hope to be done no later than 6, because that's when things start flowing, when people start getting up. But because what they need to do, because we have a whole new set of tanks, they need to cut that line off and basically fork it so that you have a line that goes into the existing plant and another line that goes to the other half of the plant that we're building now. So they've got all that piping pre-assembled. It's already been tested. We met, we're going to have another meeting tomorrow to go over the final plan for doing that. And if it goes well, the plant will be shut down for about 45 minutes. We're going to have a couple of Vector trucks down pre-state by the 2 big lift stations down by Burger King and Broody Road. Just in case something goes wrong and it takes longer and stuff starts building and filling those lift stations up. We want to be able to Vector out, then run up to the plant and dump it into the plant and run back down and do it again. We're hoping they don't have to use those trucks at all. If everything goes well, 45 minutes from 4 to 5 in the morning should be fine. So that's where we stand on that part of it. On the phase 1, on the low pressure sewer contract, which is Prospect and a good chunk or part of Columbus Beach Club and Martin Island over here on this side. They just finished up on Martin Island today. They got the last 2 curb stops in. They've got the 2 cleanouts in over there. So all that's left there is to actually, and they've drilled the service lines for those people there as well. Everybody decided to have mats do their connections. So they went in and drilled their service lines while they were there. So all they have to do is when they're ready to hook up, they just have to go back and excavate where the grinder pump's going, put the grinder pump in, hook it up, and if the homeowner has the electrical ready to go too, then they can turn them on. And that'll probably be happening in September or October timeframe, as long as the plant's ready to take them and the lift stations are ready. Both the Matt's lift stations, the one at Prospect and the one down on Pier Avenue in the Beach Club, they both have power from consumers. The electrician for Matt's is still waiting on a couple of floats that have been on back order. We're waiting on some capacitors, but those came in last week. So either this week or next week, they're supposed to finish up the wiring for those. And once that's complete, then we can start testing those lift stations and making sure everything works right. And if that succeeds, then people in phase 1 north of the bridge will be able to start hooking up. So I'm guessing probably sometime in September, which would match up when they can start doing services over there. On this side of the bridge, Elmer's 3 lift stations still do not have power from consumers. I checked with their engineer again yesterday. Or was it Monday? What's today?
Tuesday.
They said, yeah, yesterday, Monday. The one at the Pinehurst and the one at Depot Beach are both scheduled for next week. I saw before the email that there's a scheduled power outage for some upgrades in that area.
Yep.
I suspect that's for a new transformer for that area, for the Depot Beach one. We know that one was going to be a challenge for them.
Right.
So that power outage is scheduled for Monday morning, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
So we suspect that, yes, next week they're gonna be hooking up, if they're putting a new transformer in down there. The one at Arthur Street has been scheduled and canceled a couple of times. We've been having some issues down there. We finally got that resolved, including we had to run a conduit for consumers for part of that spot there. And we're hoping that's going to get done next week. He could not confirm that that's on the schedule for next week because it's been kind of a pending status, but we're hoping that all three actually get done next week. He's hoping the same crew does it all. What was interesting on the match ones, they both got done the same morning by two different crews at the same time. They just got, that's how they got scheduled, and the two crews, I think, didn't even know from consumers that the other one was there. So, but anyway, they got done. Once we get those lift stations online, and then we can do the testing and that, then the phase one people can, south of the bridge should be able to start hooking up as well. Having said all that, if we have some hardship cases here and there, now that we've gotten past the 4th of July peak, we're checking with the plant personnel. We think that there's a few spots here and there, once the lift stations come on, we can probably start hooking a few people up, even if the plant's not ready to take more stuff, because 4th of July is definitely their peak. And there's probably another little peak around the boat races and that. But after that, things kind of start to taper off. So, Elmer's is supposed to be in town next week. If the three lift stations get their power installed next week, then Elmer's will come back right after that. And they'll finish up the restoration around the lift stations, which will involve, backfilling in there. They'll pour a little concrete pad around where the power panel supports and that are. They'll put in the bollards to protect the lift stations there at the beach and by the Pinehurst. And they also have some few spots. We did an inspection a couple weeks ago, opened every manhole lid, looking to see if anything needed to be done. A few of them had a little bit of debris in the flow channels, and there's just a punch list of stuff that they're supposed to take care of. And they'll be working on stuff like that. The other thing that they still have pending, once that they can start hooking people up, then there's a little mini lift station here, kitty corner from the post office. That little mini lift station currently takes the post office and two houses on the other side of the street. So, and it's in their contract to actually get that mini lift station out of there. They can't do that until they're hooked up. So they'll have to open up the pavement there where they ran the post office's new lateral to, connect up the post office, then connect up those two houses, then they can pull that lift station. So that'll be scheduled sometime after September, probably as well for Elmer's. Then they'll have to repave that little spot right in there. Any other questions on phase one? Looks like the grass finally took off. It's coming pretty good. Yeah, they used a DOT mix that grows just about anywhere. So we're hoping it was going to take off eventually, and it did. So.
Because I can't get grass in any other part.
Yeah. I know you can buy. I know they buy it like these huge bags. So. All right. Any other questions on phase one right now? All right. Phase two. I had a couple meetings with the contractor. Their current plan. There was some sheets here. I typed this up last week after talking with them. They're planning to mobilize the week of August 18th. Sounds like they're working with Mr. Wallace, who has 3 lots down there by Holden and Witt. Do a lot of the staging right there, which is kind of in the middle of that whole phase 2 project. And then start work the week of August 25th. They'll start on the lift station that's at Barbara, Dorothy, and Doris. And then work their way up Barbara, and then work their way up Dorothy. They'll pulverize those 2 roads first. And I say Barbara, just Barbara from basically just past the lift station to the east. And once they're done digging that in, they'll pulverize the next 2 roads, which will be Doris and Birchfield. And once, then the next two roads after that will be South and Holden, or Holden and South, and then Mac will be last. If things go really, really well, they could be done this fall. But there is a good chance, since they are starting kind of late, that they won't make it all the way to Mac by the end of the fall. We'll have a better handle on how fast they're gonna go after that first week or two. Elmer's crew really got in a rhythm, as you know, in phase one, and they were scooting right along. Matt's crew had a little more challenging environment, a little narrower, a lot of dead end stuff over there, and they did not make as much progress on a daily basis as Elmer's did. We also don't know exactly what the water situation is gonna be down there, what the soil situation is, but after that first week or two, we should get a good feel for how much they're gonna average a day and have a better feel for how far they're gonna get when. Our plan is, we have little flyers like we used in phase one. Basically, it's a half a page, and about a week or maybe two before we know we're gonna get to a street, we'll start going door to door and handing those out, and they can post those on the website too for people looking for it that way. I've been going door to door for the last week and this week now as well, concentrating on Barbara, Dorothy, Doris, and Birchfield, making occasional forays into the other areas when people call me. But we're trying to get out ahead more than we did in phase one, knowing that people are here right now, but they might not be here by mid-August. A lot of people get out of here that I didn't know last year, but now we know. So on the flyer, if I haven't met with you already, please, get a hold of me and we'll come over. I don't mind. I was underneath a house just before I got here, but I've shown him. We got a little spider on the hat there. He looks pretty cool, so I'll leave him for now. We want to leave the lateral in the best place for you guys. That's our number one goal, to make sure that we're not screwing anybody, that we're leaving it where it's going to work for you. Some people, it's better if they flip under the house. I just met with two people, that's what they're going to do. And it makes the most sense for them. Some people, it's not an option. I was talking to somebody last week, and he comes out the back, his house is slab on grade. So it's just going to be a lot of little 22.5 or 45-inch elbows and lines to get all the way around to the front of the house. It's going to be a long dig. But we don't want to guess. We want to try to hit everybody we can. Well, there's a lot of stuff to dump on you all at once. Questions on phase two? Questions on anything?
Phase one, is that gonna be, do we know when the green light's gonna be, where we can start looking at?
I'm guessing it's gonna be about a month from now.
Okay,
It depends how, especially, you're down, we picked you up on Mac even.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It depends on when we get that Devo Beach lift station going. And if we get power to it next week, it could be, just a few weeks after that. We don't know. We have to see if the testing goes well. And if the plant's ready, like I said, we could probably take a few people before the plant's ready. But to tell the whole neighborhood, yeah, send it on over. We don't want to do that to them until they see how it's going.
okay.
It's only going to take one or two people sneaking in their artesian well hookup to really screw things up. So we're hoping nobody
Nobody's gonna do that.
does that.
What do you mean?
Well, maybe they've got a sump pump, and they've got that going into their drain. And nobody knows it now, or maybe they add it.
Oh.
So they,
Because I have a sump pump and I have it,
yeah, well,
it doesn't go into, it goes into, out in the street. The sewer, the storm drain,
right.
is that a problem?
It's not even supposed to do that according to the road commission, I think. But
Where's it supposed to?
when we found those, we just let them know, and we just kept on going. Yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah, generally it's supposed to go out in your yard somewhere,
Oh.
But If we found one, we just left it. We let the road commission know, and they didn't want to get anybody upset, so we didn't find very many of them.
Yeah.
But if people, they sneak it into their sewer line. If you get more than a few doing that, well, that's just gonna.
Now, wasn't the same one as the overflow from the artesian.
Right, yeah, as long as it's not going,
It's
right
not
now, your
going
stuff's
anywhere.
going into your sewage is going into your filter bed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And, which is where it should
It's
go.
completely different side of the house.
Right, I'm just saying, you know, there's the potential for some people to,
Okay. I think I'm okay.
and if we don't see it happen in the middle of the night, you know, it's gonna be hard to police that kind of stuff, but if we start seeing huge flows at the plant, then we'll know that somebody's doing it. Probably more than one. So
Can you track it down, or it's hard to do?
that's really tough.
But I think if we, I'm talking with Tammy, if we bring people on in small groups and she knows where they're coming from, she's got a pretty good nose for where the trouble is emanating.
If you're just running sewage, sometimes you can dye test stuff. You can dump some dye, you know, in somebody's toilet and see if it's, that's how you find leaks. You know, you'll see, you know, great, you can use different colored dyes on different days and, you know, see if something's coming out in the ditch somewhere. It says, oh, yeah, we put yellow dye in that house yesterday. We got yellow dye in the ditch down here. Yeah, you know, that house is a problem. It's hard to sneak it into, if somebody's sneaking it into the system, how do you sneak the dye into their sneak it? I don't know.
Upstream.
We're just hoping people are honest, that's all.
Well, why would they do that?
They don't want it in their yard, or they don't have a catch basin, or what do they call that? A French drain, or a.
Yeah, a storm drain, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay to let it run like into the ditch and then into the storm drain. You're not supposed to like put it like right in the storm drain pipe, I don't think.
If you're really creative, you could do a gray water system, which that isn't really considered gray water, but it is allowed in Sheboygan County if you're reworking your area. You can run your dishwater.
You mentioned lift stations at the Willow Beach, right?
There's a lift station there, yes, sir.
Are we gonna put flush toilets into that, or?
We're still working on that. We're trying, yeah, we've got a couple, yeah, we're still pursuing that and trying to think about whether or not, you know, the building we have there
Functional.
is functional.
Right.
The question that I have out to DHD4 is, are we able to treat that as if it's someone's personal septic system, whereby it's cleaned out, filled, crushed, and a new floor laid, and then replumbed? It's going to be only a seasonal bathroom. It would get us something.
But if you get water system too, can you go well? Or-
Well, and I think there is a well there, but I'd have to look at some plans. But, you know, that's just something that's been floating around here, like, why would we take down a perfectly good building?
Right.
If we don't have to, but that's a pay grade far above me. So, but yes, the answer is yes, we're still pursuing a flush toilet bathrooms down there, as well as maybe green dock. So,
Some toilets in the room, right?
right,
And then what we did at Devo Beach, because there's still an ongoing discussion on, well, if they do get a regular restroom, will it be where the current one is? There's also some that feel it should be at the other end of the lot, at the south end of the lot, down in that corner. What we did, when we plumbed in the lift station, and then we left it so they can go either way. So they don't have to tear that whole thing up again and try to break in like, we basically let the stuff in each direction to make it flexible. And if they put one down at Prospect, down by Green Dock, that's a pressure sewer line, so they can tap into that basically anywhere on that side. So that'd be easy.
and there was some, if anybody tuned into last week's Parks Commission meeting, there was some discussion and a lot of confusion, mostly on my part, as far as what property down along the Green Docks, whether or not Tuscarora Township owned property, and yes, we do. So that was some confusion last week, and we've sorted that out, at least on the GIS map. So there, another small hurdle stepped over, so.
when I was doing my summary, I skipped over one thing. What Matt says, they finished on Martin Island today. I don't know if they started this afternoon or if they're starting tomorrow morning, but they're at the base of South Prospect, right before the beach club, they have all those curb stops to put in from there north up to Prospect itself. So that'll be taken probably the next 2 weeks. It's pretty wet, especially once you get down the hill there. And so what they're having to do is basically set up a horseshoe the day before, like they did on Martin Island. They would set up about 45 feet of piping with a big pump in the afternoon and let it run all night. And then in the morning, they could dig down deep enough without having a bunch of water in the hole. So they're basically doing a hole a day. So we're gonna, on Prospect there, what we figured out, it'll cost a little more per lateral for pipe, but I'm gonna save money by only doing like one hole for 2, 3, or in one case, 5 different houses to have their connection point for the line. We'll just shoot them out like a spider web from that spot. So it'd actually be cheaper to do it that way, and we're only digging one hole, which is cheaper, plus it's a lot less disruption down there for those folks. But so Prospect, South Prospect won't be closed, but the lane and a half will probably be down to about a lane when they're digging each one of these holes as they go along there and shooting the service lines there over the next 2 weeks.
Maybe you think that's so stretched out?
If they didn't start this afternoon, it'll be tomorrow morning. They might have started, I think the current plan was to start up there on the beach club end, up on the top of the hill. Patty's got a house up there. The beach club has a house, Mark has a lot, kind of get those in, start working their way down the hill. So those last few houses there right before the green dot. Yes, sir.
You're thinking the entirety of phase 2 will probably be next spring sometime?
Yeah, I can tell you that the low pressure system, which is the rest of Barbara and out Sturgeon Island, that is not going to start until next spring, which I kind of prepared people for the last couple of months, saying I'm pretty sure, but that they've actually said, yeah, that there's no way they're going to get to that this fall.
I know we kind of discussed it a little bit today also, but so is there a chance that they'll wait till all of phase 2 is done before any of phase 2 can come online?
There's a chance, but we'll talk with them, and I'm thinking, if I understand the system right, if they do the lift station down at Barbara and Dorothy and Birchfield, the force main for that lift station is running up Birchfield. So once they get those 3 done, including Birchfield all the way to the current system, I think they will be able to bring that online. And then the next one would be south. So when they're doing Holden and south, that lift station is at the base of south. So none of those will be able to come on until that lift station came online. And then the rest of it all on Mac goes down to the lift station on Mac.
Now, will the city send out notices to the homeowners saying systems online, you've got 12 months or 18 months to put in?
Yes, we'll post it online, and one of the things we're running into, so the short answer is yes. Check our website regularly. It's come to our attention that there are a number of people that don't utilize the internet, and that's fine. But if you know someone who doesn't and they need information, let us know. We'll send it in the mail. We can stick it in their door. We're trying to keep people informed. We're just not sure who's able to access the online information or those that need the hard information. So, again, just call in, stop in, let us know.
Make sure we have the right address.
Yeah, that too.
We don't need to have this.
Yeah.
I finally met with Bob today and got his spots laid out.
Good.
So I have a question, we're on West Barbara, when do you wanna meet with those people, even though it's not gonna start until April? Are you gonna wait until like March and start meeting with people,
No,
or?
I would hope to do that while we're here this summer.
Okay,
It's just, right now I'm focused on trying to get everybody, especially on those first 3 roads that I know we're blowing up first.
okay,
I'm trying to get those, and then once things settle down a little bit, kind of hit down there.
okay, so then you'll come to our doors,
Yes.
okay. I don't have to worry about it.
And let me
He
look.
didn't show up, I don't know what he's doing.
Do I have your number yet? Do you know?
Probably not.
What's your address?
6756 Barbara Street.
6756. I turned 65 a couple months ago, so. What's your address?
6756
Oh,
Barbara.
6756. Okay, no, I do not. You're next to Sandy.
Right,
Okay. Can I get your name and number?
Vicky. You know, probably want to call Jim, he understands.
Okay,
Bowers, Bowers,
okay.
517-282-0331. That's Jim's number.
Okay. All right. Yeah, what I'll call, and I can stop by. In fact, I could probably do it in the next couple of days if you're gonna be there. But,
Not tomorrow. Thursday, Friday.
okay, if I'm back up here on Thursday or Friday, I'll give you a call. And you can stop by, we'll pick out what will be the best place for your curb stop, and what will be the best place for your grinder pump. I'll get a couple stakes. I can put stakes in the ground. I don't know if it's worth it right now, if I just make a note on the drawings, this is not due till next year, but
Right.
we definitely can open a discussion, so there's no surprises, so.
Do that in the next week for girl time.
Okay, all right,
Most of the time.
you're here year round?
Yes.
Oh, good, okay,
I might be gone for a couple weeks, so wait till that's about it.
okay. All right, looks like I've got contacts for most of the people on the other side of the street. I have not talked to whoever's west of you, I haven't, oh no, you're the last house.
Yeah, the last house.
Yeah, okay, good, all
Let
right,
me know.
yep, you're filling in one of my blanks, thank you.
Sure, has the board authorized performance engineering to do a preliminary engineering review for phase 3 yet?
Not yet. We have we climbed over our first hurdle with the $3.5 million EPA grant. We are current with our contractors, which makes us all very happy.
Makes the contractor very.
Oh, they've been so incredibly patient with us. So everyone is current. We have submitted the draft application, the second draft application for the additional $1 million congressional earmark back to the EPA for their review, which was at their request. We had to do a little bit of tweaking on the scope, which Steve and Aaron were killing, burning midnight oil to do that. Our first initial looked good. They had a few more tweaks. We submitted it last week, Thursday. I'm going to try to call him tomorrow and we'll get that in the works. He's assured me as has Anna, that it's a congressional earmark. We just have to do the paperwork and they plan to walk it through. But to answer your question, there are a few things budgeted ahead of that. And one of the last item on the budget is that. So we haven't, I guess I'd have to go back and presumably maybe the previous board approved that, or maybe they were going to wait. I'd have to go back and read the minutes. I think that's probably prudent at this point in time.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, the preliminary doesn't go plus the township anything, correct, until the preliminary engineering report?
That's 35,000 of that million was tagged
The
For-
phase 3?
pay for the PER.
Okay, for the PER, okay, correct. Then sure you can apply for USDA and we also all that's ongoing.
Well, we spent, Anna, that was wonderful to be able to meet with her and have her guide us. And we just,
She's available anytime.
And like Steve said, we need to get a few runs in before we tackle anybody again. So, yeah, we definitely have her on speed dial.
We'll entertain the politicians, if they like to see progress.
Yeah,
We'll drive them around town.
yeah, so,
So they still sign the
yeah. Any other questions? I guess one of the things, and maybe it's very early, I'm trying not to get the cart too far out in front of any horse, but as I sit and think about a phase 3 and shaking my boots and lose sleep, I think about what that might entail for the treatment plant. I'm not sure the new the new capacity after we've doubled it in size, and I think it's at 96 or 98,000 gallons. And I've seen a number of different maps for phase 3.
It's 98.
98.
I have to double check.
And I just don't, because we don't know the volume, that we know we have approximately 200 here, 200 in phase 2, we have approximately 100 in the original commercial district. And with that surge tank addition out there, that has doubled the capacity, and right now we've just come through our most heavily used time frame. Right, so I'm not sure if we're looking at 200, 300, we've got all those finger canals down there, both sides, the Navinoy neighborhood. That's a lot of
That's
people.
minimal on these sites, so it's highly concentrated. But if you got through 4th of July without needing surge tank this year,
Mhm.
that's a good sign.
But we didn't have we didn't have phase 1 or phase 2 on this year.
Oh, that's true.
So, I don't want to be a wet blanket.
No.
This is where I start to think,
But we took some of phase 3 money to upgrade the plant for phase 1 and 2.
correct,
We
Yes.
allow us to do that. So-
yes,
And if we need to have more capacity, then we need to be thinking about that.
Mhm.
So,
right.
So, and look at the earmark of the grant money, and that.
Mhm. Right.
Infrastructure money.
Right. And I don't know that we even have any of those answers, and we won't until we start bringing smaller groups on. And that's what Tammy has explained too, and I think, and you've expressed this at other meetings. We can't just have this big bolus of sewage come in, that'll just destroy the bugs and everything out there. Just like we can't have all this water from, artesian wells come in. It has to be little bit so that they too can tweak their chemicals to make sure that we've got everything being treated properly out there.
Yeah, sewer's not slowing.
So there's, we have a great faith in them. We just have to we've got a couple of guinea pigs.
Yeah. If we had to expand the plant again, do we have the room out there to do it?
Yes. The one thing we didn't have to do this time was the rapid infiltration basins, which is where the effluent from the plant goes
Right.
to seep into the ground. That was sized originally for the double plant. Now, if you bring on 3rd phase, you'd have to probably bring in, more tankage, but also I think you'd have to start throwing some more, ribs. They're called ribs, rapid infiltration basins. But there's a lot of room out there.
Yes, somebody told us, excuse me, how many acres we have, and we do have. a bit of room up there.
And that's good ground for soaking water in. When we filled up that surge tank all the way, and that was enough water to transfer to the other tanks to test all those. But then they needed to get all that water back into the surge tank to test, so they could fully test it. But then they had to get rid of that water. So,
Well, there's a lot of sand out there.
yeah, so they were a little nervous and wanted to know what we said. Just pump it over here, off to the side, right by the woods there. It should go right in the ground. And yeah, it was gone in a couple of days. 150,000 gallons.
Perfect. That's what it is.
Anything else?
I'm tired.
Heard that? Well, if you haven't picked up the info sheet that Steve worked hard on, please take one. Please take a couple. You might run into a neighbor or friend who's unaware. There's information for phase 1 and phase 2 people on the website, and it's, there's, buttons, I'll call them, and you just, takes you right through it and print them off. If you don't have a printer, come on in, we can print them off for you. People have been coming in and picking up packets sporadically. We're here, doors are open. We're helping. Thank you. All right, hang around for the township meeting.
Yeah.